Today we are going to discuss block 2, week 1. Block 2, week 1. Why I had skipped block 1, week 6? Because we are going to discuss it later. When you are going to understand certain concept, we are going to talk about pitching, which is the concept of block 1, week 6. This is why we are going directly today to discuss block 2, week 1. And definitely I am going to discuss pitching at the end of our lectures. At the end of our lectures. Okay? At the end. Not now. Okay? In order to let you understand more about pitching, because we are going to discuss a lot of concepts that can help us to know more about pitching, which is block 1, week 6. Okay, and now we are going to start block 2. And the first week in block 2, we'll talk about approaches and skills for negotiators or people who are going to negotiate certain agreements. You as an entrepreneur can discuss certain agreements. How you are going to make negotiation with other parties in your career. What will happen? How you are going to negotiate? What are the main points that you should consider when you are going to negotiate certain deal? This is what we are going to learn in this week. All of us know that people are different. You have certain criteria that is completely different from me. That's completely different from your colleague. And this means that I should know what is the difference in the negotiation. What is the difference between me and you? Why? In order to come up with a reasonable outcome. And this is very important. It is difficult to measure the differences, but we can detect type of people. We have two types of people. The first of which is adapters, and the second is innovators. What do you mean by an innovator? Man or woman? Excellent. With new ideas that can be implemented. During implementation, he's ready to face the challenge, right? He'd like to challenge any problem. He'd like to think differently rather than others. He'd like to discover problems and to try to come up with solutions. And this is something not traditional, unconventional. Okay? How I'm going to come up with this? As an innovator, man or woman, or as an innovator entrepreneur, I should ask a lot of questions for myself and come up with different assumptions and to try to see if these assumptions can be implemented or not. Okay? This is very important. And you are going to discuss all of your suggestions with your team. Why? Because the team should agree with you on application of certain solutions. Thus, we should have consensus, agreement between all of us on a certain solution. Okay? This is very important. Sometimes you need to delegate certain authority to one of your team members. You should know how to do this. You should make control, but in an unstructured way, not by the regular way of doing control. I'm not going to monitor people. go around them. No, I can see the results. I can see the outcome. I can discuss with them. I can motivate them. This is the unstructured control. Okay? We can have another type of people who are adaptive, who are methodological, who are dependable. They should depend on others to implement any idea. They should depend on someone. They accept the problem definition. If someone tells them that this is the problem, they can accept that easily. They try to solve the problem, not to find the reason for this problem. This is something different. Okay? They seek solutions. They reduce problems. They don't like to face problems. They'd like to live in a stable situation, not a situation full of a lot of problems. Okay? Sometimes they'd like to have certain established structure for authority. They don't like to change the mode of control. They'd like to have a certain fixed, structured mode of control. Okay? This is very important to them. They'd like to make everything with accuracy. They don't like to make untraditional solutions. Okay? These are adapters. And this is the difference between adapters and innovators. Why and how does it matter? You know that if you are going to think about certain new idea, the approach that the adapter will follow will differ from the innovator. Why? The adapter will produce a small number of items, while innovators will come up with a pool of items, a lot of ideas. It will be no problem. We can discard as innovators a lot of them, but after discussion. But adapters will come with few ideas, small number of ideas, because they are not concerned about making something new. Another thing, the value placed on efficiency. Adapters concentrate on doing the task. Okay? And this can give attention to a lot of details, how I'm going to do it. They concentrate on how I'm going to do it. This is why they can focus on one task. But innovators concentrate on a lot of tasks, multiple tasks. And this is why they give less attention to details. Okay? Because they are going to consider a lot of tasks. Then they can apply. They can innovate while application. They are not concerned about details. The third thing is a value placed on rule and the group comfort. Here, adapters prefer stability. This is why they try to work within existing practice, existing structures. They don't like to change. They don't like to bend the rule. They don't like to challenge the status quo. On the other hand, innovators will challenge the status quo, will challenge the structured rules. Another thing that we should consider is communication. How people are going to communicate together. Why? Because communication means flowing of information. And this means that the company will continue to operate. Because I cannot understand you if you are not going to communicate with me. This is something that means that you are alive. And this is why a lot of problems can result because of miscommunication. You can find conflict in the workplace because of miscommunication. That's why communication and negotiation are essential skills for the success of any business. Also, in order to communicate well, I should listen to you first. This is why I should be an active listener. How I can answer your question? I should listen to your question carefully. Then I can answer your question by the proper way. That's one of the basic responsibilities of any manager or any employee is to be an active listener. It's very important. Why? Why I should listen quite well? Because I should grasp the facts. I should capture the facts. I should capture the feeling. I should try to pay attention to the speaker in order to know what is the problem. Another thing that is important, I should repeat for the one who talks what I understood from him or her, which is the feedback to the speaker. It's important. Why? To confirm that I understood his or her point of view quite well. Thus, being an active listener is very important during communication and negotiation. What to avoid for active listening? I'd like to listen to someone and be an active listener. What to avoid in this process? I should listen first, then respond. Not to respond directly without listening. I need to listen with understanding. Why? Because I should think about how I'm going to change. That's not to respond to the speaker, just to judge the speaker. It is not a matter of this. You're not going to judge your colleague. You're going to cooperate with your colleague. Okay? And this is very important. What I can do for active listening? I should listen to the overall meaning, not to certain word. I'm not going to take it word by word. I'm going to listen to the overall meaning. Then respond to the feeling of the speaker. I should respond to him or her because I should let the other party know that I am evaluating his or her speech. Then I should have a feedback in my own words and try to communicate this feedback to the speaker, him or herself. Why? To confirm that I understood his or her point of view. This is why we should have, as negotiators, share certain approaches and skills in order to succeed. And this is what we are going to discuss in our week today. We should know that if we are not going to have these skills, maybe there will be a conflict. From where this conflict originates? From where it originates? We should know. From the positional bargaining. What do we mean by positional bargaining? And what are the types of outcomes? We should know about this. Positional bargaining means what? I am going to concentrate on only one position, one point. And I'm not going to leave it at all. Okay? And this is a problem. Yes, it's a problem. Why? Because I'm not going to be flexible. For example, you are a supplier and you'd like to sell the raw material with 10 pounds. But the buyer would like to buy it with 8 pounds. And you insist on selling it with 10 pounds. What will happen? What will happen? The buyer will not buy the raw material and you are not going to sell it. But you should listen. Maybe if you leave your position, which is concentrating on selling the raw material with 10 pounds, you can reach an agreement with the buyer and sell it with 9 pounds. And still you make profit. This means what? This means that positional bargaining is practical. And it has different types of outcomes. Different types of outcomes. It doesn't have any rule. There is no rule for the game. You should detect it by yourself. Try to secure great amount of benefit for you and for the other party. Not only for you and leave the other party. Because what will happen if that takes place? What will happen? The other party will not respond. The buyer will not buy the raw material. Okay? This is why you should not have a fixed mind and keep a certain particular position. No. Try to respond to others. Okay? Try not to make a conflict. You should know that sometimes positional negotiation can be hard or can be soft. What do you mean by hard negotiation? What does it mean? Yes, everybody would like to gain a certain position. And what will happen? They are going to threaten each other. They are going to mistrust each other. There is non-negotiable bottom line. Non-negotiable bottom line. And this can reach a loose agreement. You're not going to reach anything. There is another type of positional negotiation, which is the soft one. And here, the two parties try to reach an agreement. It is not the victory of one over the other. It is something like mutual benefit for both of parties. And this is very important in negotiation. We have different types rather than these outcomes, guys. We have two additional outcomes, not only the hard and the soft. We have the win-win and we have the win-lose. Okay? These are the four types of outcomes. The four types is soft, hard, win-win, and win-lose. I say that in order to be careful, either in the quiz or in the exam. There are four types of outcomes. Okay? What are the advantages of the soft approach? We have talked about the hard and the soft. What is the advantages of the soft approach? Excellent. Both parties will gain, will benefit. We will reach an agreement. However, there are certain limitations. What are the limitations? Some of the parties would like to deceive the other. How to deceive you? Okay. I'll be calm and friendly with you in order to encourage you to relax. And then you are going to forget about your point of view. This is one of the ways. It's a limitation. Okay? What else? What else? The outcome that we had reached maybe is not the best for someone, but it is very good for the other. And this can take place. Sometimes you are going to say that I am going to keep my very good relationship with this party. And this is why I am not going to fight. I'm going to be kind. By this way, you are going not to reach your main issue. And this can affect the outcome received by you. This is why relaxed negotiation may not adequately resolve long-term issues. Because in the future, this party will repeat that again. Thus, you should be firm from the beginning. The problems here are based on certain principles. What are them? Some people would like to have a fixed side, while others can shift as the circumstances change and try to make grouping. They try to see how things will differ in the few months later. They still have positions, but carry them more light. Remain open to responsibility. Okay? This is why they are going to face problems, while others wouldn't like to. They have fixed sides. They don't like to change. Normally people try to solve any problem or any situation from one perspective. But in negotiation, you should consider the other party perspective, not only your perspective, not only your own perspective, but you should consider how the other party will know about this, how the other party will behave. It is not only your own perspective, but the other party perspective should be considered. And this is why there is a different way of thinking that should be adopted. Okay? And also, it's important to be open, to know different perspectives, to see the other's beliefs, not only your beliefs or your feelings, to understand situations, to understand behavior. Okay? This is a problem because people cannot do this very well. And sometimes you misinterpret information regarding the other party situation. Okay? This is why frameworks should be adopted according to culture, according to people, according to values. Okay? It's important. It's important. You should recognize this. You should understand this as an overall understanding. You should shape the way you behave. Yes, no. Wear it. Yes, wear it quite well. And please leave a chair between you and between your colleague. Okay. What else? We should evaluate our ideas and the other party ideas and try to relate them. We are not going here to conflict with each other. We'd like to search for a solution that I should integrate this. Okay? I should interpret the other party idea. I should interpret the other party belief. I should know the perception of the other party. I should know the other party point of view. This is why you should know the cause of the problem, how you are going to respond. Okay? How I can determine the perception of others. How I can expect the other party performance. This is very important during negotiation. Referring to self-scaling, it's a kind of psychology because you cannot know the other one's belief if you don't try to sense what will happen. It's something related to psychology. Okay? You should know the other party, how he or she will think, how he or she will respond. Okay? This is very important for you and for the success of the negotiation. We have the third type, which is the win-lose outcome. What does it mean? You think all the time that you are going to win, and the other side should lose. It's something dangerous. Why? Because sometimes it cannot happen. What will happen if you think like this? What will happen? Sometimes this will lead that both of you will lose. This is another outcome, which is lose. Not win, lose. And this can take place. Thus, the win-lose thinking is dangerous. Why it is dangerous? Because I am going to concentrate on selling the raw material with 10 pounds. And I am not going to negotiate with the other part, with the buyer, who had offered to buy it with 8 pounds. Sometimes if we can agree, sometimes we can say to each other, what is the reason? Okay, you can still sell this product with 9 pounds and both of you will win. You are going to take a profit margin. You can take 10% profit margin, for example, instead of 20%. What will happen? You still make profit and the buyer will buy the product. This is very important. This is very important. This is why if you accept the other party suggestion, maybe you have win-win situation. This is a fourth outcome. Instead of the win-lose situation. Why? Because in the win-lose, there is no agreement. No agreement. There is a zero-sum game. One will gain and the other will lose. If you are the other party, you'd like to lose. Thus, there is no agreement can be achieved. This is why we are going to concentrate in negotiation to convert the zero-sum game or the win-lose to win-win, to a variable sum outcome. What do you mean by variable sum outcome? It means that both parties will gain. Please raise the camera. You, yes. Both parties will gain. Thus, this solution will work for both parties. You will not find that one party will be satisfied on the expense of the other. No, this will not happen. Because both of us had an agreement. Both of us are satisfied. Both of us reserved our effort. Thus, there is no zero-sum game at this situation. There is a variable sum game or win-win situation. This is why understanding positional bargaining and its 4 types is very important in order to reach a favorable, effective agreement. But if I'm not going to understand what will happen, I'm going to reach ineffective agreement. Both of us will be annoyed. Both of us will not be satisfied. Why? Because there is unresolved problem. These are the types of positional bargaining. But what about approaches to negotiate an issue? We should know these approaches quite well. We have 4 basic principles for negotiation. And I would like to know each principle and the limitation. Okay? We are going to start with the first approach. Separate the people from the problem. This is the first approach. How I'm going to do this? Okay. You have a problem with your boss. Okay? You say that your boss is not kind. Okay? He or she is not friendly. Okay? You say this, but you have a certain objective to achieve. You should negotiate your target for this month. What will happen? Remove the image of this unkind boss from your mind and try to be objective. Are you going to, or are you going to be able to achieve this specified target or not? If you are not going to achieve it because you don't have enough resources, discuss with your boss about it. But if you can achieve it, why you are going to fight with your boss? Because you should separate people image, okay, people relationship with you from the problem, from the objective. Okay? The issue you are going to negotiate about. Try to separate the image of this person from the issue. Why? In order to be objective. Because if you are not going to separate your relationship with this guy, what will happen? You are going definitely to have a conflict. That you should separate people reputation, people involvement from the outcome, from the objective. Another thing, in dealing with relationships, in dealing with certain perception about someone, emotions, because it's something emotional. People sometimes have certain hidden drivers for negotiation, right? They need to acknowledge their own emotions and the other people's emotions. They'd like to involve emotions in the problem. They'd like to involve emotion in the negotiation. It is not effective. It is not effective at all. Don't try to involve emotions, because this will let you lose sometimes. This will cloud your perception. This will not motivate you sometimes. Okay? Just try to listen carefully to the other party. Try to remove your emotions from your mind. Try to think objectively in order to reach your target. I know it is not easy, but it should be done in order to have a very good outcome. Okay? Another approach, which is focused on interest, not position. What does it mean? Here, I am going to put in front of me my interest, my objective, not my position. For example, if the buyer would like to buy the raw material with 9 pounds instead of 10, and I still make profit, what would be the profit? I can sell and make 10% profit rather than not selling anything. Just focus on your interest, not on your position. You're not going to say, okay, now I accepted his offer or her offer. This means that my prestige will be affected. No, definitely not. It's business. It's business. You still make profit. What will happen? You're not going to think about your prestige. You are going to think about your interest. Because if you are not going to sell, what will happen? Employees will not find their salaries at the end of the month. This is the truth. Okay? Think objectively about your interest, not your position. Okay? Not your position, your interest. Because the other party can have multiple interests. Okay? And a lot of issues to be addressed. Rather than only one solution, you think about what will happen? What will happen? You can discuss with him or her the different issues. Okay, I accept to sell this raw material with £9, but you are going to increase the quality, the quantity of your order. Okay, this is another issue. Maybe the other party will accept. Not try to refuse, try to come up with different, multiple interests and extend the scope of what is possible. Not only to be fixed-minded. Okay, I'm not going to accept this price. No, you can accept, but increase the quantity. It's a kind of solution. Okay? We are not going to come here to conflict. We are going to come to reach an agreement. There is a third approach, which is invent options for mutual gain. Here, what will happen? I am going to shift from win-lose to win-win. How? I should think about how the other party will gain. Not only how I'm going to get. I know that this is not easy. But you should think about it. Why? Because you'd like the other party to be satisfied. You'd like to know the alternative perspective of the other guy. You'd like to resolve the problem. Okay? And this is why both of you should gain. Both of you will gain. You have to involve a lot of limited trades off between the fixed option and the multiple options. Okay? You should have an alternative. And you should have more than one alternative. For example, you can say, okay, you are going to let me buy this product with £9 as a buyer. And I am going to buy from you large quantity. But you should keep the quality very good for me. At this time, as a seller, you should accept to keep the quality for the buyer as good as you can. Okay? This is something of what? Of mutual gain. You will gain because you are going to sell a large quantity, and the other party will gain. Why? Because he took the raw material with lower price, but at a high quality. This is something of mutual advantage to both of you, and this is very important. The fourth approach is insisting on objective criteria. Here, I'm going to concentrate on win-win outcomes. I'm going to concentrate on the facts. I'm not going to concentrate on the concept. No. I am going to concentrate about the specific terms, how we are going to proceed. Okay? It doesn't mean that I'm going to concentrate only on the outcome of the negotiation, but the process of negotiation. The objective criteria means concentration on the process itself. how we can reach a certain formula, certain principles that we should follow in order to reach this outcome. Okay? It's very important. And at this point, sometimes we are going to agree. For example, we can have 5 principles to agree on. But one of us agreed upon 3 ways of implementation. And he or she doesn't agree on the additional 2. What will happen? We are not going to finalize the meeting and say, okay, we are not going to agree. No, we can delegate these 2 issues for a later negotiation. And we can proceed in implementing the 3 principles that we agreed upon. This is what will happen. I'm not going to concentrate on all of the procedure. No. We agreed about 3 issues. Okay, excellent. We can go for them, and for the additional 2 that we don't have any agreement, we delegate it later. We can make another meeting about these 2 issues. Okay? This is one of the ways of insisting on objective criteria. I'm going here to read justification for everything. I can represent essential elements in the meeting and try to hammer on them. If we reach an agreement about them, it will be an excellent objective for me. And at this point, I am going to have a mutual gain. These are the approaches. Thus, we talked about 2 things. First, positional bargaining and outcomes, types of the outcomes. Second, approaches to negotiation. The third thing are behaviors. Behaviors that should be used by skilled negotiators and behaviors that shouldn't be used by skilled negotiators. Behaviors that should be used by skilled negotiators are different. The first of which is flagging. What does it mean? When you enter the agreement and you'd like to highlight certain things, while the other party is going to continue his or her discussion, you can interrupt him politely and say, okay, could I ask you something? By this way, you attract his or her attention and try to talk in the issues that you'd like to discuss, you'd like to suggest. I should make this during the agreement. I shouldn't wait until we finish. I should make it during the agreement itself, before we reach any solution, because I can illustrate my suggestion at this point. Maybe he or she will agree on this suggestion, but I can make it politely. And this is what we call it flagging, like raising your hand, raising a flag. I can suggest something. Could I ask something? Here, by this way, I can make clear communication. I can gain the control from the other part and try to let him or her listen to me. Listen to me. And this is one of the behaviors of skilled negotiators. Another thing, skilled negotiators should give reason first and then disagree. You are not going to say, I am not going to agree. You should give a reason and say, okay, because of this, I am not going to agree. Most of us do the other way. And this is a problem. Why? Because if you try to give a reason, maybe the other party will think about this reason and try to respond to you. Try to come up with a certain strategy that satisfies both of you, that you can reach another. Okay? Not to say, okay, I refuse and that's it. No. Try to give a reason at the beginning. I have learned something and I'd like to share it with you. You can say, okay, it's good, however, it is so and so. When you say, however, it is so and so, it means what? It means a justification for the other party. Maybe the other party will think about your justification. And maybe he or she will be convinced. You get the point? Another behavior that should be used by skilled negotiators is testing, understanding, and summarizing. Testing what? Testing your interpretation of the other person, of the way he talks, of his or her point of view. You should test that you understand well. You have the right understanding. Why? Why I should understand well? Because if I don't understand well, I can lose. And this may be a foolish thing. This is why if I'm going to search for an agreement, I should understand the other party quite well. And I should test my understanding by trying to say, okay, this is my feedback about your perception. Is that right? And I can summarize and come up with a summary. I say, okay, we can summarize what we agreed upon. It is so and so. If there is any misunderstanding, he or she will respond, okay, it is not the truth. We cannot agree about this. And we are going to talk about that in order to understand each other quite well. We should also trust each other. And if you try to understand the other party and try to summarize for him or her, this will build the trust over the long term. Over the long term. Another behavior that should be done by skilled negotiators is asking a lot of questions. It doesn't mean that you don't understand. No. It means that you can reach a win-win situation because you understand very well. You ask a lot of questions in order to break up the cycle of assertion and counter-assertion. Okay? Thus, it is hard for people to compromise sometimes. Thus, if you are going to show interest, this means what? This means what? Huh? This means what, guys? The other party will respond to you. And by this way, you can reach a mutual agreement. Another behavior that is very important is commenting on motives. What does it mean? Telling the other party why you are going to do something. Okay, I am not going to accept the £8 price because this means I am going to make zero profit. This is why I am going to reject it. What happened here? You comment or on motives. The other party had understood why you refused the £8 price. And maybe he or she will be convinced. If they don't know, they know now. This is why there is something become obvious for him and for you. Okay? And by this way, you highlight your hidden motive. You break the iceberg. You will let the others know why you take this position. Why you are going not to accept this price. And this is very important for the other participants. The fifth behavior is assessing your own performance. Can I assess myself? Yes, definitely, you can. And this is what happens. Every time I enter any negotiation, I take a piece of paper with me and I try to assess myself in every stage. Simply, I'm going to pick a note. Here, there is a defect in me or not. During the negotiation, if there is a default that I had made, if there is any effective behavior that is portrayed, what will happen if I'm going to change this in the next negotiation process? Okay? This can take place, and it is very effective for you to learn, to gain more skills. We have also certain behaviors that should be avoided or shouldn't be used by skilled negotiators. The first behavior is irritation. What does it mean? It means that I am going to say certain words or phrases that irritate the other. Okay? And this cannot be fair. This cannot be reasonable. This can let the other party be annoyed. You shouldn't keep evaluative words or evaluative phrases about the other party, about other people's arguments or ideas or suggestions. Why? Because this can irritate them and impact them. And sometimes you are not going to reach any agreement. The second thing that you should avoid is to avoid the defend attack spiral. We are not going to fight each other. We can have a mutual agreement. This is why we cannot be involved in a defend attack spiral. Okay? You are not going to insult someone and expect that he or she will not respond. Definitely. He or she will respond. You insulted him or her. What will happen? He or she will respond. This is why we should avoid the defend attack spirals. If he responded, you are going to respond back. What will happen? Back and forth, what will happen? A great conflict. And sometimes you are going to warn each other. Sometimes you are going to say unpolite words. Sometimes there will be a forcible attack by hands. It is not the perspective of negotiation. Another thing that you should avoid is the argument chain. And we should know what do you mean by argument chain. To argue is very good, but argument should be for the benefit, not to argue because you'd like to argue with this guy. You'd like to win, and you'd like to depend on argumentation to win on the expense of the other. It cannot be. It cannot be. Okay? This is why you should avoid this argument chain. You should concentrate on one strong argument. And that's it. And that's it. Why? Because weak arguments will create conflict, create more attack, and will not let you reach a win-win situation. The other things that you should avoid is the counter proposal. When someone tries to propose something, you are going to make a counter proposal on the spot. Listen. Listen. Try to give reasons. If you are not going to listen, it will be a difficult situation. In spite of all of this, all of these things, guys, are a state of art. But in practice, the situation is more difficult than this. You can face other difficult situations. Like what? Like what? You can find the purchasing manager, for example, aggressive. You should deal with this manager. Why? Because you'd like to sell your products. You can have something that is different from the book. You see that all of this are assumptions from the book. But in practice, the situation will be different. Sometimes it is not reasonable to carry out this, and we can think about something that is different. Okay? Sometimes people say to you, okay, that sounds nice, but we'd like so and so. We are going to respond. If you don't have enough experience, it's difficult for you to respond. You can face a very powerful partner. Sometimes the supplier is the only supplier in the market. The supplier requests to raise the price of the raw material. What will happen? How you can negotiate with the supplier? Sometimes the supplier will refuse to play, and it will say, take it or leave it. I am not going to play. Sometimes you are going to face dirty tricks from the other party. How you respond. All of these are difficult situations that you should accustom yourself. How to respond to it. How to know the perception of others. How to respond to the situation. How not to start from fears that negotiations will turn to worst case scenario. Maybe it will succeed. You should consider the worst case. It's very good, but not to insist that this will happen. Sometimes it will not happen. Sometimes you can divert everything by your intelligence. This is why your personality, your ability, your way of analysis is very important to succeed in the negotiation itself. Sometimes you are not going to have a certain bottom line strategy in certain situations. You are going to come up with different new ideas, and this can take place. And also, you can come up with different alternatives. And you are going to try to let the other party accept the best alternative to the negotiation agreement, which we call it patina. Patina means the best alternative, a negotiated agreement. And I'm going to reach this best alternative. I'm going to let the negotiation not to be hard, to convert it from take it or leave it to a win-win situation. I should respond in very professional way, reformulate the attack of the other party, and try to absorb his anger or her anger and encourage him or her to respond to my suggestions without becoming defensive. You should be calm. You should go to a wider discussion of concerns and possibilities. Sometimes, if you cannot reach any agreement with this party, you can refer to a third party, but independent third party, in order to help both of you to reach an agreement. And this can take place in the industrial issues. It is important also, if you face dirty negotiating tricks, not to reply in a kind way, not to go for everything the other party says to you. You should say your opinion, but politely. Not to agree on the other party interest if it is against your interest, even he or she is more powerful. This is why explaining conditions and re-entering negotiation, another negotiation, can be the way, in order to reach an agreement. Thus, I should always have or keep in my mind that it is not a personal attack. I shouldn't underestimate the tendency to fall back into positional bargaining during negotiation. This is why I shouldn't attack the other. I should keep in my mind that the other party can insist on his position. And this is why we should relax and try to reach a mutual agreement. This is our week today. We had discussed three things: positional bargaining, the types and outcomes of positional bargaining, which are four. The first of which is soft, the second hard, the third win-win, and win-lose. Excellent. The other thing we had talked about approaches to negotiation. And the third thing we had talked about behaviors that should be used by skilled negotiators and behaviors that shouldn't be used by skilled negotiators. And the last thing is what about the difficult situations that you can face during negotiation. This is our week today. You should be careful, guys. Maybe in the exam, you are going to be asked about what is positional bargaining and what are the types of positional bargaining, what are the approaches for negotiation, and you are going to explain the five approaches and what are the skills that should be used by skilled negotiators, or the behaviors that should be used by skilled negotiators, and what are the behaviors that skilled negotiators should avoid. This is what we can have as questions in the exam. Additionally, you should know the difference between people, and some people can be innovators and try to come up with new ideas, and others can be adapters, and you should accept both of them. We are going to stop our recording here, and we are going to continue our discussion in the next.